I think that this whole thing is a situation where people have not calculated the cost for the things that they do. Welcome back. When you think about parenthood, you think about bringing a child into this world, especially for you mothers out there. What feelings come up into your heart? Does responsibility come into play? Does nurturing, does love come into play? I'm willing to bet that all three come into play. And probably simultaneously, as you think about bringing your little one who may have grown into an adult, or they may be in their adolescence, or they may be toddlers, whatever age they are, you attach a certain pride and a certain achievement in bringing another life into this world. Ordinarily, that would be the case. But now the article that we're about to consider is one that does not meet that particular criteria. And I'm going to highlight a couple of things in this particular video that I found very egregious. Very egregious. There are some actions that are taken that are just things that cannot be explained. There's no way that a mother could put her children through these particular difficulties without there being some underlying difficulty with this particular mother. So who or what am I talking about? Well, let's look at the article. So now the article that we're going to take a look at, as its title, it has kids locked in U-Haul. Notice this, while mom eats in the Waffle House. Kids. So let's go on with the article. The woman that you see in the picture here is Kishonna Jackson. The article identifies her as being 34 years old, and she's from Laurel, Mississippi. And so Ms. Jackson will be the subject of our discussion today. She'll be the subject of it. And I mean no disrespect. I want to illustrate how when difficulties happen, individuals can make the wrong decisions. And those decisions can have long-reaching ramifications on everyone around them. Let's keep going in the article. So now, what transpired is simple. The police were called out 7 p.m., the Laurel Police Department. And when they responded to a call, they found an adult, Mr. Zachary Cumbest. He's 31 years of age, and he's from Gulfport. But what they found Mr. Cumbest in a U-Haul van. And in the back of the U-Haul van were 2 children, right? Now, according to the report, one was 12 years old and one was 16 years old. And evidently, Miss Jackson and Mr. Cumbest went into the Waffle House to enjoy a meal, and they left the children in the back of a U-Haul. So now what makes this egregious to me? Let's keep going in the article. The first thing is that the temperature that particular day was 85 degrees on the outside. Now, can you imagine what kind of heat was going on in the inside of the vehicle? Because there's no indication that the vehicle was left running or that the AC was running. None of that. These people just got up, went in the Waffle House, and left these children in the back of this U-Haul van. Probably with instructions to stay put, right? But it gets even worse, I promise you. Now, you had 2 children, remember? One was 12, one was 16. The article goes on to mention that the 16-year-old is a special needs child. He's autistic. He or she is autistic. And when questioned about who they belong to, they are Miss Jackson's children. Not Mr. Cumbest, but Miss Jackson. These are her children. So now when they went further and they investigated the van, they found that there was proof in the van that individuals was living there. So evidently this was their home. The article says that they observed blankets and the mattress in the back of the van. And notice this, it had a lived in look, right? So this was on the affidavit by the officers, and Mr. Cumbest, he made kind of light of the issue because he said that they weren't in the back of the van for a long period of time, right? So now, what was the after effect? What was the result of these actions that, in my particular opinion, were not intentional? They were not thought through. What was the result? The article goes on to say that Child Protective Services took the children into custody, and the Laurel Police Department took custody of Mr. Cumbest and Miss Jackson. Okay? So now, as I mentioned, two egregious things. Very egregious. To leave a child, no matter what age they are, in a parked van. Evidently, the vehicle was not running, so there was no air conditioning that they could use while they were in the van. And then to have one of those children be autistic, to have special needs. This is something that no one can make an excuse for. This is ridiculous. Children are something to be valued. They're our legacy. Evidently, this woman has no concern for her legacy whatsoever. Now, why do I say that? Why do I say that? I say that because these are her children. Now, he's not responsible because he evidently is not the parent, but she is. How could a mother go into an establishment to get something for herself to eat and not think about her children? Not think about the welfare of their children. Maybe the children had already eaten, but what about the welfare of her children? You leave them in the back of a parked van when inside the Waffle House, I guarantee you, it's air conditioned and it's more comfortable than it would be inside of a van, right? So that's the thought. Why is that something that's okay? Why was this even a thought for her as a mother? It boggles my mind, right? Now, Mr. Cumbest, he went on to make some more statements that really aren't pertinent to what we are talking about, right? But now, it's interesting, too, that the chief of police, now this is his statement, and I agree wholeheartedly with him. Look at this statement. He says, "I don't know what would possess an adult to place two children in the back of a locked van while they go enjoy a meal." That's the chief of police speaking, right? The chief. So now you have individuals weighing in on it because they don't understand what's going on. That's why I say I wholeheartedly agree with what the chief said. This kind of behavior, this kind of lack of appreciation for your children, this kind of lack of the responsibility that goes along with your children, comes from individuals who are not fit to be parents. Listen, I understand. I'm a parent myself. Sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes it's frustrating. Sometimes children just don't do what you want them to do. But is that a reason? Is that a valid excuse to lock these children in the back of a van on the day where the heat has reached to 85 degrees while you're inside an air-conditioned establishment enjoying a meal with no concern whatsoever for the safety of your children? I think the outcome matched the actions the children should have been taken. Because if she doesn't appreciate the fact that those particular young lives are in her hand, we need to get them to a situation where there are individuals taking care of them that do appreciate the gravity of the situation. See, this is one of the reasons why I advocate for marrying before you carry, right? Because in a situation like this, we're not saying that it would have turned out perfectly, but it would have turned out better. Because now if there is a father involved in this situation, if Mr. Cumbest was the father, I doubt that he would have allowed this to transpire the way that it did. So now let's get into final thoughts on the video, right? There's no excuse for this kind of conduct. No excuse for this kind of behavior. And I wanted to bring it to your attention because this is the result of trauma. There has to be some underlying trauma that would allow Miss Jackson to treat her children in this way. And it has to be some underlying trauma with Mr. Cumbest that would allow him to see children going through this and be okay with it. Now, I understand. Listen, I understand those were not his children. I understand that biologically he has no responsibilities when it comes to them. But what about the responsibility to treat people as human beings? This was inhumane. What if one of the children had perished in the back of this vehicle because of the treatment that they were undergoing? What if they had passed away? See, people seldom do they think about the difficulties that will be associated with what they do until something tragic happens. Is it because of the trauma that these things take place? I would say so. There's some issues that need to be resolved. Maybe she's a single mother that's dealing with the difficulties of raising these children by herself. That's still not an excuse. That's still not an excuse. I think that this whole thing is a situation where people have not calculated the cost for the things that they do. She didn't calculate the cost in having these children. She didn't calculate the cost in leaving these children in the back of a locked van. She didn't calculate the cost when it came to what she was going to have to do to pay for this situation that she created. Yes, they're in prison. $5,000 a piece is their bond. And they're going to have to come up with that. So now what you've done, you've taken a bad situation and you made it worse. You made it worse. Because if she ever gets to a point where she's stable, because evidently they have no home to go to if they're living in the back of a van, and if she is able to get back on her feet, and if she's able to build a productive life for herself, it's going to be difficult both to see her children in a foster home, and it's going to be difficult if she decides she's going to fight to get them back. You created more difficulties by not thinking about what you were doing. We would not even have this story if they had simply unlocked the back of the van and took the children into the Waffle House with them. We wouldn't even have this story. We wouldn't be considering it. This is the reason why I advocate so much for being intentional, for thinking things through, for looking at a situation and trying to come up with what would be the best response. What do I need to do? It involves strategy. It involves taking your time and making decisions from a place of wisdom. Did you see that happen here? I didn't either. Please, you all, please, the decisions that you make in the long run are going to affect you and those around you. If you have individuals that you love, make decisions that will be the best for them, especially if they're your children. Those are my final thoughts. Please like, comment, and subscribe. As always, be easy.